What's up, friends? Mr. Coffee, Asterbait. The first stream since the thing that happened. That's weird. Is my board open? No, and it's still showing. That's odd. Okay. Am I first today? That's awesome. Come early and often. You managed to be first this week. Well, last week we didn't have a subscriber stream. And people have been kind of lame about it lately. I'm going to start to really hunker down and revitalize our streams from the first of the year. That'll be my New Year's resolution. But I've got a lot of stuff coming up. We got this stream and we got next week. I've got a stream tomorrow, a stream Sunday, next week Tuesday and Thursday, and that'll be the last stream. So this stream next week will be my last stream. One more week of streams, basically, after this. Next Thursday is my last stream before I leave on... Actually, I lied. I can stream on Friday. Whatever. Okay. Whatever. Anyway, our last analysis stream till I go, till after I go to the World Senior. I'm leaving in 9 days for for Portugal. So guys, I know that like traditionally Thursday isn't a big donation night, but we're trying to get our last 7 days. In our last 7 days, we're trying to raise the donations up to $2,500. So if you consider giving any money, please do so before those 7 days are up. All right, we got Dave Stone versus Richie Smith. This is our first game. No. Welcome, guys. Chess is a good escape, right? We've talked about this in previous years. We put our political differences aside, or depression aside, and just forget about the shit that's happening in the world and play chess. Alright. So how do I make it stop highlighting the chat there? Okay. Dave versus Richard Smith. This game was Somerset Cup, October 30th. You played your patented knight maneuver. We didn't know you had a patented knight maneuver. Alright, let's take it up. Was broke before this month really begun. Inflation, right? It's all Viktor Orban's fault. Why isn't Viktor Orban? Anyway, I'm not going to start. E4, E5. Knight F3. Knight C6. Bishop C4. Italian game. Knight A5. You didn't play my patented bat variation. Arsenal, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but remember we played this before? And then this game popped up. There was a game for 2023, and Sindarov versus Sandipan. Earlier I said it was a different player playing white, but it was Cinderella. Anyway, okay, knight a5 is not super reliable, but it's, I think, a good move for a surprise. You played the serious bishop c5. White plays now d3, and years ago, it's very trendy to play the slow, quiet Joko now. If you go to Chessable, which I don't use, but I've done some surveillance, Chessable is very, I think Geary, if I'm not mistaken, one of the better, content creators. I believe that Geary has a E4 repertoire with white, where he's promoting this quiet Italian game. which I think the main advantage of this versus the Spanish is honestly that it kind of keeps a lot of the pieces on the board. It also avoids the Marshall and Berlin defense. But anyway, you can play d3 against the Berlin. I'm not certain that the Italian game is better than the Spanish. Yeah, what? Is there a reason why c3 isn't commonly played? That's an interesting question. There might be some cases where they'll transpose to a Vienna on certain moves. No, a lot of people play c3 then d3. It's a very common move order. I would assume c3 is better because it threatens to play d4. d3 puts less pressure on your position, so wouldn't it give you more options, like say d6? Like normally I would think like d3 would give you more options. Yeah, no, I think c3 is best. No, c3 is the most common move by a long shot. Is there anything you can do to take advantage of the quieter d3? Probably, like I said, you could play d6. There is an interesting outlier here, h6. You know, that's something to think about because, honestly, I wouldn't dare play h6 against c3. But against d3, because d3 is fundamentally so slow, it turns out maybe h6 is so bad. This may not be so bad. See, even Caruana has a game here. On the other hand, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, why is it even necessary? You can play h6, but why is it even necessary? Is there some kind of weird setup Black could do with the knight on e7? Maybe? Let's take a look. 0 games with d6 here. You know, I had a game with someone on Sound on my stream where he played the reverse version of this type of thing. I'm not saying this is good, but it's effectively like a Vienna in reverse. But I was thinking, like, why can't Black just do, like, d6? Could we possibly play knight e7? My point is to keep the f pawn. But yeah, I mean, you can get popped by d4 at any moment. Ivanchenko. I need my glasses. I don't know. It's just it's a question. You know, is there a way we could try to exploit d3? a6 might be an interesting move. So Petchak played it against Nodirbek. This could be a tricky move order as well. Notice there's some games with knight to g5. Wow. It looks like the Moldovan Prime Minister has a game with Black in 2023. That's really weird. I didn't know she was like 2300. That's crazy. Moldovan Prime Minister. Isn't it like Michaela Shandu? Anyway, coincidence? Alright, maybe it's a common name in Moldova, I don't know. This is an interesting move though, a6 as well. So h6, a6. Mr. Coffee, are you with us? With us or against us? So anyway, knight f6, knight c3. Okay, so see, your opponent transposes to, he transposes to the Vienna. We're expecting to see c3. But maybe the fact that he played, you know, he played d3 was kind of a tell. You can't be surprised by this move. Well, bishop g5, what is that? The canal attack, it's called, right? There's games in 500 Master Games of Chess with that. That's like the first chapter in 500 Games of Chess, Master Games of Chess by Tartakover. Capablanca played it, right? The bishop g5. Yeah, canal variation. But you know, it's funny, I wouldn't call this Gioco Pianissimo anymore. Like, technically, it's like a hybrid with the Vienna and Italian game. Yeah, this is canal variation. So, by the way, if you find this annoying, you can play h6. I don't think there's a problem with that. I think that it's completely okay. On the other hand, you know, you haven't committed to castling. Oh, you played your patented knight maneuver. Now I know what you're talking about. Okay. So this has never been played on the master level. 97. Let me ask you a question, though. Is there any benefit in playing h6? No, they're just going to take. That's the point, right? That's the point. They're not going to play bishop h4. They have to take. So your options are limited. The normal h6, bishop f6, queen f6, knight d5, queen d8, c3, blah, 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 blah. Knight a5 is apparently a move. And then there's like bishop e6. If bishop e6, I assume white is better. But how bad is it? Bishop takes d5. Bishop takes d5. h6. I don't like your winning chances here. I played this guy. That's funny, I played this guy. Zoran Gajic in 1990. One of my first wins against an FM. Yeah, that's playable too. I'm just trying to remember his first name. Bishop g5. Okay, so this is Arsenal fans' patented novelty. Now, what's the problem? Double pawns don't bother me. What bothers me here is you're taking defense away from the center, the e5 and d4 points. I'd like to see a matchup between Miralles and Arsenal fan. What bothers me is this. You know, moving your knight back to e7 means that you're going to have less protection of these squares. So can white do something to take advantage of that? I mean, obviously, there's also like knight a4, which isn't all that scary, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not really enthusiastic about white, but you think take and knight h4 are like the standard sort of reaction here? Takes, knight h4. Yes, this. What do? You also have to watch out for queen f3. You're saying f5 immediately, but doesn't he have like some crushing queen h5 now? If you play f5 immediately, he's gonna crush you. So this is evidently, you know, it's like a Sveshnikov, right? You play the Sveshnikov. I'm going to cheat and look at the engine. Wow. Surprisingly, you're okay here. Almost okay here. But I don't like h5, queen f3. That looks really creepy. So it looks like the only move, it turns out, is like c6. You can try to hit him in the middle. Which actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that's your best shot. You have that. What happens if queen f3? Hitting your f6 pawn. Typical Vienna situation now. Do you have to play knight g6? Oh, f5. Wow. Now that's Sveshnikov too. That's a neat idea. Does it work? I mean, you're just like giving up a pawn, right? Wow, castle's queenside is best. Holy shit. So let's say knight takes, you're better here. Wow, you're better. Really kills his bishop. So you're onto something. Okay, this is best. But I would expect like Most of your c6 is your only good move. Most of your opponents would be likely to go into this though, because there aren't a lot of other promising plans for white. Maybe knight h4. The old knight h4 right away, right? That's a standard kind of thing. What's the purpose of bishop g5? Well, he'll chop on f6, but the question is when. You probably do the same type of shit, c6. Anyway. It's not all that different. We could transpose for bishop takes, but he could also try... He could try to play, like, what would someone on sound do? If he keeps the tension, so to speak, this could get very complicated, like... Bishop g4, queen g3. This is confusing. I don't know what's going on. But I'll tell you, I would be afraid. If I were you, I would like to see you play our viewers. Arsenal fan. The two, Someone on Sound and Morales, both played this Vienna. They both played the Vienna Italian hybrid against me on the Simul on Sunday. And I have had a tough time, against those guys. Well, I think they're not out of your league. You guys are all competitive, but that's nice of you to say. You're a little out of practice, but so is Someone on Sound. All right, c6, bishop takes f6. This is not the game. So he plays h3, and it gives you time to play, a key move. But why not knight g6? Oh, you're gonna face knight d5. Okay, so you have to do c6. This is a good move. c6 absolutely. Now he doesn't have to castle. Against me, Someone on Sound did like king d2 or something ridiculous. Claimed it wasn't a mouse slip. No, but seriously, I would expect him to castle kingside. But in addition to castling kingside, White could play something like that. You've got the queenside. The queenside expansion, which is always possible. I think a lot of players are going to go with a prophylactic move. Maybe bishop e3, maybe a3. a3 is very standard. a3 is very standard. a4 weakens his dark squares more. But he castles. And then it's an interesting question what you should do. You could play a prophylactic move. You can castle. You can play knight to g6 now. But if you play knight g6, can he try to d4 you? I'm curious. Is this good? Because Morales does this sometimes. What do you guys think? Should he first make the prophylactic move? But you played a5. Kind of a cheapo, technically. But at the same time, I think a5 is a constructive move. It happens to be a cheapo and a constructive move at the same time. Pure coincidence. Yeah, you're threatening to win a piece with b5, but you're preempting him, grabbing space on the queen side. He plays a4. Obviously a3 is possible as well. Now knight g6, okay. And now, bathtub structure, exactly. Now, I'm expecting, I guess, knight h4. Right? Like a Nimzo, like a Hubner Nimzo. They always do that in the Nimzo Hubner variation and in the four knights. Here, like this looks horrible. For example, maybe it's not that bad. Looks kind of weird. After knight h4, yeah, what do you do? I think you're okay, but it's not clear what our response is. I don't know, knight f5 sometimes. So he goes here, copycat. Now, You don't play h6. But I wonder, I guess I kind of wonder at this point, like, why not play h6? It seems like, fuck it, it's time to break the pin, you know? He didn't exploit his pin. Your move is certainly not bad. But is there something wrong with h6? You know, what did you expect him to do? If you do h6, if he takes, fine, you take with the queen. He could play, like, what, knight g3? But you're all over him here. You know, that can't be good for white. So, I think, you know, it's difficult. Probably has to consider retreating the bishop. Yeah, you're already better. The engine thinks you're already better after bishop e3. Very, very slightly better. Very slightly better. Like 1/10 of a pawn. Okay. I think you should play h6. This is okay, though. Now white plays c3, and now you play h6. And you get a dubious from the computer. That's brutal. How dare you play h6? Oh no, because your bishop's loose on b6? You're telling me he has queen b3 or something crazy? So, you played h6. Looks like the most natural move in the world. He doesn't have this, does he? Then you would have, like... Oh my god. Are you serious? You're telling me he has this move? That's the problem? That's why h6 is dubious? No, this is better to do this immediately. What do you do now? And this is terrible to have to do. I would consider king e7. No. Shit. Well, you have to protect f7. You can't play d5. Can you? You can't play d5. Oh my god. It almost looks like you have to do this, allow him to take, and take with the pawn. But maybe this is not that bad. Yeah, you're going to get this problem. So I think that's your issue. You should have played h6 right away. This was an unnecessary prophylaxis. h6 right away. You know, hindsight is 20/20. After this, now maybe you have to make another prophylactic move. Or maybe you just simply put your bishop on the wrong square. In retrospect, why the fuck didn't you just put the bishop on a7 instead of b6? Isn't hindsight great? We can see everything. If you just put the bishop on a7 instead, you have absolutely no problem. It's not like he can do anything about it. That's a shame. So he has a tactic there. He misses it. Naturally. It looks like queen b3. Yeah. Yeah, you have to allow it. That's the key. Queen b3, castles, bishop f6, gf6 with a crazy structure, and you're slightly worse. Now he goes back. So you're back to where you should have been. I don't have a problem with trading dark square bishops. It is his good bishop. This is kind of counterintuitive and combative, but okay. And now knight to g3. And obviously you have chances for d5, but I really think you ought to castle at some point. Alright, let's see what happens. Are you taking with the knight? Wow. Wow. And you take with the knight and he gets access to the e4 square? Like, I can see rejecting this. Check. Knight takes looks okay, but then he has bishop c5, right? Preventing you from castling. Oh my gosh. And then he goes back there. So he didn't find it. Oh my god. The fall out of the chair variation? Did you fall out of your chair? Oh shit. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Ah. Ah. You guys hear that? Fuck. Fell out of the chair. They played bishop takes d5. Are you fucking kidding me? They always do that. What's wrong with this guy? Wait. Climbing back. So now Arsenal fan, after falling out of his chair, calmly climbed back into the chair and was able to continue the game confidently after the old bishop takes d5. Holy shit, man. You can't even begin to express how bad... You can't express how bad a move bishop takes d5 is. It's difficult. He knows he's playing the Italian game, right? Just making sure. So, this move is so strong looking. You know, hitting it with like b6 doesn't really do anything. I mean, I guess theoretically, you're going to get shredded here. You're going to get theoretically shredded. So, you said knight e7. Hmm? Yeah, okay. It's not like you're lost, but white has pressure, you know. Some pressure. Pretty unpleasant pressure with the bishops. And good, fairly good control position. But this is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. He has a really obviously good move. Another possibility would be like bishop d6. I mean, maybe that's also... But this is such a bad move. It's sick. It's perverse. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? So it's tempting to take with the pawn, but you're back into... If you take with the pawn, you know, it's riskier strategically. Either way, you're fine. Either way, you're fine. It's always safer to take with the piece, not to, you know, weaken your pawns. But c takes is clearly more dynamic. Queen takes is very safe though, and I think that you're just better after queen takes d5. These bishops, especially the light square bishop, has no, you know, it has no competitor. You have a beautiful position after queen takes d5. I think you're just auto better. You have f5, like Planinch game we looked at while you were away. We just massacred someone with his pawns, step by step. But it's the white square emptiness, you know. He has no white square presence anymore without the light square bishop. And, you know, a lot of times people do really anti-positional stuff like c4. Looks... Well, I mean, maybe. Error 404 not sound the other day played that against me. Under the circumstances, it might be the best try. But let's say queen e6. You know, then on the bishop c5, I think you can comfortably answer him with like b6 and shut him down. You know, if he tries that you're out of there. But it's white square bishop time, you know. It's a matter of time until that piece like kills him in the future. This is such a bad move. Anyway, okay, so take with the pawn. Now he can try to blockade with the dark squares, though you're still better. I still think this is probably necessary. Thank God you castled finally. I don't see another place to castle here. I think castling kingside. Just kind of joking around. Castling queenside is not an option. That's a very delayed castling. Arsenal fan plays classical openings and castles on the 16th move. Alright. It's not like the fucking Sicilian or something. You know? I'm playing e4, e5, and castling on move 16. That's standard. And now rook b1, so white is just absolutely planless. His only hope is to erect some kind of dark square blockade. So computer doesn't like your move rook e8. I mean, obviously, if f5, you know, you were aware of the fact that this rook can be attacked by bishop c5, but that's strong for you, I'm sure. He's in deep shit in this position after f5, but you could get overconfident. I know I have. f5 is extremely strong. You decided to play a solid move instead, but your rook probably would have played there pretty well. And now f5. You couldn't resist. And White's played really badly the last few moves. And now bishop c5 finally. The bishop will always have a safe retreat back to a3. So, computer is pointing out rook a6. That moves in the analysis lines. That is a nice move. You know, probably your rook would have been better on like f7, where it would have kept f5 protected in retrospect. So here now we start to see some loss of dark squares. That's the only problem we have. Potentially White getting some kind of dark square blockade. Apparently rook a6 was better, but it's hard to say that's the best move. I'm not sure he should take on e4 or not. But White is under a lot of pressure. Now I don't know which way to take for you. But I mean, I guess this diagonal isn't so scary. Really. And your queen has a square here on f6. I think you can take either way. Actually, is that a problem? Queen f6, knight h5. He didn't play it. If knight h5, you have queen f7. But I don't really want to trade queens. So I'm a tiny bit concerned about queen b3 check. Is that going to be a problem for White after this? Yes. So he loses a piece. It looks like he loses a piece after queen b3, because queen b7 and bishop takes g3, and then take the other knight. Alright. So he goes here. You're rolling. You're rolling now with the crushing duo. I got a lot of pressure on this pawn, so I mean, honestly, there was a call for the other pawn arsenal. There was a strong case for the other capture, f takes. Although your rook's not in the f file, it opens up the bishop, for potential lines, and your queen will be there. But I don't know, I don't know like which way would have been better ultimately. You've got the pawn roller now, but e4 is not protected enough. So you played bishop e6, preventing knight c4, preventing knight b3. The thing is, this is a straight up pawn sack. If f4, knight takes c4, you got to show something here. And this doesn't look like it's on. You can't just keep shoving the pawns. To play c4. Alright, so here, what are we going to do? The other possibility would be something like b6 to fianchetto. But, I mean, you're looking at maybe queen trade. So, alright. Oh, apparently you have knight f4. Oh, that's really strong. You could allow a queen exchange, by the way. I mean, this is so strong, it doesn't matter if the queens are on the board or not. Your position, your advantage is so big, it doesn't matter if the queens get traded or not. Like, with a knight on d3, you're just like crushing him. Okay, so that would have been better. And now knight f4. This is clearly very strong. He has no answer to knight d3. It's a monster. Rook d8. And I mean, yeah, you're going in. You played a good game. The only flaw of your position is that this pawn isn't protected, so we can't shove these central pawns. We need to just get this e4 a little bit better controlled or some kind of tactic. You have rook takes d4. You don't have any sort of rook takes d4 yet. You know, you could even consider like moving your bishop back just to create a kind of clearance here. You're getting very well coordinated, and this isn't doing anything at this point. This was a nice tactic. You have a tactic here? You have queen d7 apparently. No. Queen g6 is the best move. So there's no, you see, there's no immediate tactic. The computer even says like bishop c8 is the third best move. You're winning strategically. This is a move. Okay, obviously, this is a move. Clearing lines, overprotecting this, followed by queen g6. But there was another suggestion. Wow. Bishop d7. That's a subtle move. The idea of bishop c6. It's all very subtle. But it's a beautiful position. You got very well coordinated here. So queen d7 here. Now that's terribly awkward. Yeah, if bishop e3, f4. You're saying he has a tactic here? Is this the impression I got? You were talking about this position? Well, I thought maybe your knight on d3 was a problem, but it's not. Or is it? Maybe he has something. Can he undermine your knight? No, it's not enough. There's not enough. You're fine. No, queen d7's quite strong. I think he's like strategically lost. Problem is you still can't play f4. That's a nice move. Arsenal and Acerbate approved this message. g3. Inducing the weakness in the opponent's position. He's really asking for f4. It still doesn't work. See, you need that bishop, I don't know, over there. And now he finally got fed up with your knight. Played that. And now nothing's defending his king side at all. Oof. So, do you have any shots? Rook takes d4. Rook takes d4, bishop e5. You did it. You did it. You did it. You sort of snapped. I can't take it anymore. This guy should die already. I like the idea of rook takes d4, but it might be like a little bit early or too much. You have a winning position strategically, and you sacrifice the exchange. What else can we do? He's threatening, like, to take on d3. Okay, you have a million winning moves here. Like, for example, I mean, objectively, if you went, like, knight b4, you're probably winning. Just slowly winning. Let's just take a look. Knight b4 is plus 3.5. Okay. For example, taking is the best move according to the engine. Queen g5 I thought about. you're a little impatient with the sacrifice, because I didn't see like really the point. You know, what are you gonna do? Take on c1. Aha. So what's the point? You have pressure. Wow. Is it enough? It looks really good. You have queen d6. A lot of threats. It's good enough, Arsenal. It's good enough. So here you probably have like many really good moves. Even though you don't even have a pawn for the exchange, your two bishops are so strong. Your rook on the 6 is so strong. You could probably play like h5 and have a winning position. He's basically like paralyzed. No. h5 looks... I mean, just for example, it's not like you have to play h5. I would be surprised if h5 wasn't a good move. He has knight takes e4. Oh my god. So it's desperation time. And so what happened in the game? You played queen g5. Now he should still sack the knight. He did it. No, computer doesn't like it. Oh my god. You can't blame this guy for doing this. Wow. Yeah, I mean it looks like he has to. Otherwise he's just like getting paralyzed. I thought maybe you had bishop takes g3 or something. Your bishop's hanging with check. Ooh. So what's wrong with queen e8 check? What's right with... I mean, you're threatening all kinds of crushing moves. Like, this is brutal. Like, queen e8, king h7, and then rook takes g3 check. Oh. He has maybe one move here. 2 moves. I don't want to see the end. Oh no. Oh no. It's not like rook takes g3. Oh my god. Oh no. Well, I'm playing one more move on white here, regardless of what Shaki says. I'm definitely going to recapture this. Bishop b. Somebody tell me what's going on. So it's queen e3. Wow. But he has only rook f2. Oh, and that drops that. Oh, wow. Wow. So that must be the only like clearly winning move. It is. Wow, that's nice. That's the only one. Very centralized. On that rook. Yeah, this was a good game. You played steadily, you know. Not perfect, but good. Alright. Spent a lot of time on that game. Not bad for a rusty player, Arsenal fan. I mean, your opponent played the opening okay, then he like got real passive weak about halfway through. It was almost like he was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah, I get that a lot online. You know, you get like 20 moves from players who seem like they're pretty good, and all of a sudden they're like c3, queen c2, rook c1, bishop a1, d3. They just go like total passive. But it all started with the horrifying bishop takes d5. The guy has a perfectly normal position, and for no reason at all, he busts out the bishop takes d5. So rather than praising Arsenal fan, I'm like, dude, this is like really one of the worst moves you can play in chess. The unprovoked bishop takes knight. I imagine the guy sitting there expecting you to take back with the pawn. Debating whether he's going to retreat his bishop back or put it on b5. And then suddenly Arsenal is like, knight takes d5. But what would possess anyone to take that knight? I mean, I realize the knight is pretty strong. I get that, but at the same time, White has some, good chances here, I think, still. Peter thinks that you're seriously worse after bishop c5. Your opponent didn't appreciate how strong this is. Optically, you have a strong central pawn and a strong knight, but the bottom line is you can't castle. If bishop d6, queen takes d6, so apparently d4 and white is much better. You didn't get your king out of the center. You should have been punished for that. Alright, next game, Morales or someone. Oh no, Arsenal said the NGE7 word. Alright, we haven't had that in a while. Sextech draw with a donation, 602. Guys, only one week left. We're up to 2156. I'm almost the master. Come on, guys. Don't be stingy now in the last 13.76% of our donation goal. It filters that because of the N word. It thinks that knight NGE7 somehow is related to the N word. It's ridiculous. Okay. Black knights matter. But that's my guess anyway. Mule Skinner's here. Okay, Mule Skinner, you're not Morales. You're the other M guy. I've got the Morales game I was going to go over. Yeah, that's pretty dumb, I admit. But it's not the first time. Tigre Wilson versus Morales. Morales said this is like just for fun. Oh, there he is. Mule Skinner's here. Saxon Draw is here. Do you have any late submissions for the stream? It's nothing special, just an entertaining game for Morales. What the fuck is fun? That's what I want to know. What is fun anyway? I don't know. Alright, so Morales is playing black. It's in English. Knight c6 right away, just for fun. It's funny because Morales usually plays e5 and then knight c6. So this is kind of funny. Experimenting with something new. Yeah, I imagine a lot of English players aren't going to try to... They're not going to try to punish your Mexican defense here. The vast majority of players are going to play knight c3. You can count on that. Not a lot of English players are going to play d4. If they wanted to play d4, they would have played it on the first move. I think you can be pretty confident in seeing either knight c3 or g3, maybe knight f3, but very few d4s. They're only going to play d4 if you happen to be playing a player who literally prefers d4, but just happen to play the English against you. I'm more of a d4 player. I might be perfectly happy to play d4, but most English players not. e5, now g3, and now my old favorite. I didn't play this that much, but I did do a very brief video series on it 15 years ago, and I played it for a little while. But anyway, it's a thing. So White's supposed to play bishop g2. Knight f3 is possible. That's actually a really interesting move. It's kind of Jakob Murray style thing. It's like a version of the Norwegian rat or whatever. You play knight f3 and you hope to provoke black into playing e4, and then you go knight h4. And Murray's idea always was, to induce black to overextend, the knight can drop back to g2 because the bishop hasn't gone to g2 yet. But I think, I've seen this with reverse colors as well. Usually black would respond with like g6 and then do, a fianchetto with bishop g7. There it is. Am I right or am I right? Jakob Murray against Tony Kostin, 1988. So I know what I'm talking about, damn it. But the thing is, you don't have to play that either. You can play anything you want here. Knight f6, d6. So, whatever. Okay, we expect either bishop g2 or maybe that move. But instead, your opponent plays d3, which is kind of unusual move order. This way he can meet bishop b4 with bishop d2. But that's not all that great anyway, to be honest. And that's what happened. You're not obligated to play bishop b4, obviously. You can play like Sunil Weeramatri. You can play g6. You can do whatever you want here. You can play d6. But I think this is the right idea, the best, probably. Bishop d2. And now knight f6. And then we're getting back into normal line for this variation. I've had this type of thing with black before, So, I don't really see white making more than a handful of moves here. They do a3 sometimes. The other thing they could try is maybe knight h3, which I have played on occasion. So you can develop without getting, attacked with e4 or whatever. But bishop g2 is normal, and now we're transposing back. What should black do? Now, interestingly, if you scan the opening explorer here, there's a handful of unprovoked exchanges on c3. And while this seems weird in a way, it may not be that bad. Unsurprisingly, there's some good players who have played this. On the other side, what are we worried about? Like, white playing knight d5? I mean, there's really no reason he has to do that. So castle, okay. Now white critical moment. He can try to not castle. Okay, so once I had the same position with reverse colors, and my opponent Tim Henke, who was like 2100, did a6, induced me to take, took, and then just didn't castle kingside. So basically, this is something that happens a lot. Takes, and then something like queen d2, and delay castling kingside, or not castle at all, or possibly castle queenside. Maybe b5. And Morales and Muleskinner and I have seen a lot of games like that with reverse colors, where I'm playing the Sicilian or the English with black. It's dynamic and interesting. But a3 also kind of consumes time. So, how about knight h3? I think I've played this before. Hikaru versus Ibragimov. I wouldn't be surprised if I did a video on that game 20 years ago or 15 years ago, whenever it was, when I did the original series for Chess Lecture. If I'm not mistaken, the Nakamura-Ibragimov game was in the series. I think, we have the standard Grand Prix stuff going on. All right. Knight f3. And now this push. I mean, you got to realize that when you play the black side of the Grand Prix, this is tempting, but from the perspective of the bishop at c8, oftentimes, while this looks like an active plan attacking knight on f3, you'd rather play f4 so as to extend the bishop's diagonal. So just d6, all right? And now look how bad white's score is in this position. Horrible. Castles. How bad is it really? See, at this point we start seeing, I would think we'd start to see like possible f4. I'm really surprised that no one played f4 directly. I would think like that move would basically be totally playable. Once I did in a similar position, I lost, but I think it has to be okay. Yeah, white is better by 0.4. I'm surprised that no one at least tried it. So instead, we see queen e8. Is there any issue with queen e8 though? Because of c7. Is knight b5? Okay, I know we were told not to take this too seriously. I'm getting a little carried away. So the main move is bishop takes c3. Then you do the queen e8. The only problem could be, Morales, when you go queen e8, he has knight b5. And then how do you defend this guy on c7? There's no great way of defending the pawn at c7. You'll have to move your queen or rook to protect it. Yeah, exactly. Nothing drastic, but there's a very old game from 2008 where Miklos Gajas played a3, but it's not very incisive. You know, he should know better than that. He didn't beat a much weaker player with a3. You know, Lyle is a good Grand Prix player. This is a poor move by Gajas, a3. I don't know. Pretty much everything is better than a3. This is playing right into black's hands. Bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3. Now you have a host of good moves. f4, queen h5, rook b8, king h8, maybe not at this point. Oh no. Oh, this is why Morales submitted it. It's my game. I get it now. So, Morales played like me. Learning. You're learning. This is a really old game from when I first came to Hungary in 2004. I remember that like it was yesterday. You realize that my game is in there, right? Against Eddie Deering. I was pretty happy with this position. But maybe objectively, you know, queen h5 is better. You didn't notice? So hard to tell if people are being facetious. It's hard to tell. Not worried structurally after the recommended e3. Oh shit. The recommended e3. Is that what Eddie played? That's what Eddie played. He's I am from Scotland. Well, you know, first of all, there's some issues here. I might be able to pop his structure. Let's say I take and play e4. What is happening there? This didn't happen in the game, incidentally. Looks pretty interesting, to be honest. Okay, it's not something I have to do. No, I'm not worried. I don't think black has any worries. I think black is better here. But I mean, e3 may be necessary for him. So, okay. Deering played e3. There's a couple games of queen d2. Deering played e3, and there's another game from 2003. Ironically, was played right before our game, 1 year before. Seen some German 2300s. I played queen h5, the same move as the other guy. I was very confident. You know, in this era, I was very self-confident, and much more aggressive, maybe, then now I would be content with a smaller advantage. Um, but I think this needs to be considered, this e4 thing. So fe3, fe3, e4. So it turns out that this isn't so simple. It gives white these weird moves like knight g5. So I was right to play queen h5. I made the right call in my game here. Queen h5, e takes f4. Later there's a Kuradzitsa game. Obviously he's following my play. Yeah, it's absolutely a Dutch Arsenal fan. E takes f4, and now Kuradzitsa won, and I only drew. What did I play here? The more aggressive move, probably bishop g4. So Kuradzitsa and I both played bishop g4, and then someone played h3. Oh, we followed the same game. Wow. Kuradzitsa, 9 years after my game with Eddie Deering, played exactly the same game. Bishop takes h3. But his opponent played bishop takes h3. Oh, geez. Esad Goric invited the queen in, and then probably played knight g5. Bishop takes, queen h3, knight g5, queen f5. Still not that clear. Kuradzitsa is better, but he's a grandmaster. He outplayed his lower rated opponent. Against Eddie, I remember I was thinking I was better, but Eddie came up with something here. Well, Gayash played this move that's terrible. God. Wow, that was a terrible blunder. Very strange. Some kind of IM tournament where Mickey wasn't that serious. But after bishop takes h3, it looks like knight g5 may be the best move. Deering played the best move, knight g5, and then back to g4, and now f3. I played like perfectly, bishop d7, and here he played g4. The game was really weird. I don't remember this. Anyway, all right. So queen h4, queen h5. Yeah, your opponent played h3. This was really bad. Really bad, weakening the king side. He's no Eddie Deering. Queen h5 and now g4. So that's, now we're talking what was it? Velimirovich, no? Or we're going to sacrifice a piece now. It looks like you sacrificed the wrong piece. I've done this before myself. You sacrificed the wrong piece. So after knight takes g4, h takes g4, bishop takes g4, you got the rolling rook, the roving rook, or roving rooks, and you built this Mauer here. You know how, guys, I joke about The Children Under the Stairs, or The People Under the Stairs, the movie by Wes Craven? White's entire position is under the stairs. This is funny. The entire position is under the stairs. He's under the stairs. His whole position is under the stairs. There, under the stairs. The problem is his king is in the wrong place. His king needs to be like over here in order for him to be okay. Now he has to start to migrate over to the king side. Rook e1, but it's too slow. You're going to get checkmated. Probably bishop h3. I don't think that white can survive. This is the kind of position old computers used to lose, because they didn't see the horizon. It's horizon effect. He just can't defend. There's too much space. His king's going to get mated. But yeah, in a fast game, you pulled the trigger on maybe the worst sacrifice. So now I guess rook e1. Well, the engine's suggesting another move, queen b3, attacking b7. b4 more kind of natural, but slow. And now you play knight d4. But, you know, he's under the stairs. There's nothing he can do. You just go back. Many of these moves are good, probably. How does his king survive? Only way, like, would be d4. He could try to break through, you know, like here or something. Problem is dead immediately. You know, he's going to have to give back a piece immediately. How can he defend? I don't think he can defend this position even now. Really, to be honest. I think he's lost. But this is unnecessary. You slightly worsened your pawn structure. I don't know how much it matters. I would think you might still be winning. Wow, shocking. It's really shocking that he's okay here, apparently. I would think you'd be able to get up there, you know, in time. But you just, I guess it's too many moves. You have to play rook f6, rook h6, the other rook up. Yo, he's staying with that bishop. Bishop is a good defender. Now that's interesting. You could play this and just really lock him under the stairs. This just might work. Oh my god. No, I don't know. Queen b2. Best is what? The best move is queen takes e3. Okay. Anyway, he's stuck. So you have various moves. I mean, queen h4. Phew. I would think rook takes g2. Mate 6. This is a little faster. Yeah, that's entertaining. Very standard Grand Prix attack. Thanks, Morales. Nice to see an old game of mine. Morales taught me everything I know. Alright, we got Asterbait up next. Facing the boulder attack. Asterbait boldly going under 1500 this week. Guys, we got a little bit more money to raise for the World Senior starting in a week. It's actually starting in 10 days. So it says 7 days to go, but in reality, I'm leaving on the 16th. 7 days to go isn't accurate. Alright. Asterbait with white, e4, c5, bishop c4, puke. And then, you know, it's amazing, Morales, these games I played 20 years ago. The first thing that's weird is that it seems like it's still fresh in my mind. I remember, like, sitting there and playing that game. I remember being disappointed that it was a draw. I remember the opening, you know, vague bits and pieces about it. It just doesn't seem that long ago. Okay, knight to c6. I've told Asterbait, like, I kind of prefer e6. But there's nothing wrong with knight c6, but you do have to be careful about bowling. We talked about. Uh-oh, Mr. Coffee bowling. Just be careful not to get bowled here. c3 might be a good move, the bowler. If he can punish your knight on c6, then the move isn't good. You'd have to be accurate after that. So I think you should stay away from knight c6. Just play e6 right away. That's I told Mr. Coffee before. That's what he does. This is apparently the best, Queen E2, but very few people know that. Just these guys, Razik, who I never met, and Chichak. Very unusual opening for white, though, at a higher level. So anyway, the white plays D3, now he played E6, and now he plays A3, which is pretty lame. Passive. What's he supposed to do, though? Now he's basically black in a closed Sicilian. And Astrobate played a really bad move now, B5, dropping a pawn. This doesn't work. He thought he had a check on A5, but white turns out to have knight C3. You can play D5, but you don't have to. I think it's more interesting to keep the tension and maybe time D5 for the right moment. I prefer A6 or maybe Queen C7, maybe Knight F6. If you want to play D5, that's fine too. My only like reservation about these positions, as I've told you guys many times, is that it does lead to a totally symmetrical structure, which I feel sometimes takes some of the play out of the game. So after pawn takes pawn, black is equal, but there's no pawn dynamics, really. So I feel like one, element of dynamism is sort of taken out of the game when you get this exchange French type of structure. One less dynamic element to the play, one less way to outplay the opponent. Anyway, this is a blunder. The bluff didn't work. He just took the pawn, and he knows that he has check, knight c3. So Astrobate shrugs and continues in a different vein, which is the right thing to do, I think, objectively. I don't think that you have enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn on the one hand, but you might have some. Now we have an interesting question. It looks like maybe bishop a4. It's a scary move to play because you see queen a5 check, but again, knight c3. Now what are you going to do about it? This bishop is actually very secure on a4. It's useful too because it protects the pawn on c2, which is a major weakness in white's position. So it's a dead end. He did what I expected he would do, which is like go back to c4. The first problem with this is that you still have the d5 type of ideas. I mean, why is bishop a4 a better move? Well, first of all, I think it's important to note that no pawn can attack it on a4 because Astrobate has sacrificed or lost his pawn on b5. So this bishop is like really difficult to drive it away from a4. Now you don't have a b pawn. Your opponent reflexively plays bishop c4. That bishop can be driven back, obviously, by d5 later on. But you're down a pawn here without compensation. This is all fine and good, but it's a dead end, just the same as his bishop is on a dead end. So you're going to need to open the game with f5 or d5, knight f3, and then trading that knight off on d4 is a good idea for white. Alright, what's happening here? We're getting some follows. We got follows from Real Life Spider and Bruno Plays. Thanks, guys, for following. Chess Zebra. In Hungarian, you're a zebra, by the way. Traffic is like at a standstill here because Zelensky came into Budapest on the train to see His Royal Highness Viktor Orban. They're having like a powwow of European leaders, and Orban is the new king because Donald Trump was elected president. It's really disgusting. So, trying to use public transportation tonight was a nightmare. I don't know, that just popped in my mind. I don't know. Oh yeah, because you're a zebra. A zebra, you need to... We call the crossings in the street the zebra. It made me think of like transit and stuff. Guys, donate. Donate, damn it! Come on, we need money for the tournament, World Senior. Again, thanks to Sextech Draw for $6 donation earlier. We still have $344 to go. So anyway, White is... We're already part of Russia. We owe them, a lot of loans and stuff. We're like half part of China, half part of Russia. They've got it divided up somehow. I'm not sure exactly. It's the young seniors. Jesse, bro, I've been playing in the World Senior for 3 years now. Where you been? Alright. 50 plus. 50 is senior. I didn't say retire championship, the senior championship. So why doesn't he just take here? This is such a big mistake by White. Simply take the knight. I think this is fine. White's up a clear pawn. This move is, I don't get the point. What does he want to, like, have you protect that and then lose a tempo when he captures it? So I think Astrobate should think about something else here. Maybe Queen B6. I would want to support my knight and simultaneously attack B2. While I understand there's nothing wrong in asking for donations, yeah, okay. That was nice. That was your first comment on my stream. I appreciate it. That was your last. Enlighten me. Enlighten me why you're so thoughtless and self-centered to ask such a question. All right. Let's see. Wow. Don't you love it when people come to your stream, they don't engage normally, and the first thing they ask is some kind of like obnoxious sort of rude or, although he worded it in a very polite way, the kind of like the basis of the question, the fundamental basis behind the question was kind of provocative and rude. I can see that from someone who's been watching my stream for a long time, who knows me, and like we have a relationship. But you come to my stream and that's literally the first thing, your first comment, like, really? Damn, dude. The fuck is wrong with this guy? It's crazy. Why did people donate to Donald Trump? Donate to me instead. Generational thing. Yeah, I don't think so. That's just, it's whatever, man. Like half the United States is like, has no human decency, so nothing surprises me anymore. Bishop E3. Bishop D6. Bishop E3. I should just enable like honestly, I should probably just enable subscriber chat only. I mean, at this point, young people kind of bypass courtesy sometimes. Dude, that's totally like discriminatory, Chesiba. Look inwards. To be honest with you, like, all people, not just young people, I mean all people bypass courtesy. Alright. Knight takes f3 check. I don't like it, Aspate. You're trading off a developed piece. You're like conceding in a way here. I think you should play queen b6. You're attacking b2 and you support d4. the queen isn't that out of position. You have some play here. It's not like putting your queen on a5. I don't have any other suggestions. This is a minor concession. And now, I think Mr. Coffee's comment of like, why would you donate to anything? Is kind of tough to answer. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. Can I play f5? As you're down a pawn, you're kind of desperate. I think you need something here. How good is f5? It makes sense because your bishop... Oh, Jesus Christ. Seriously. When someone bans you, don't immediately start sending them private messages. I don't really recommend it. Especially like the day after Donald Trump become president of the United States. Don't harass me. How much is game analysis? This is a very bad day to get on my bad side. Bangtown, California. How much is game analysis? Whatever that troll thinks it should be. It's free. I mean, you're supposed to be a subscriber. And you are a subscriber already. So for you, it's free. How much is game analysis? For you, it's free. For subscribers, it's free. But for other people, it's not free. You're going to donate subs. Well, send me a game. If you're going to donate anything, send us a game. So how about Queen H3? Mule Skinner just subscribed with Prime. Thank you, Mule Skinner. Do we have a game from you? Do I have a Mule Skinner game? Do I have a Bangtown, California game? Bangtown, you played in the tournament the other day. What is this guy doing? Oh, no. We're just gonna time you out, Real Life Spider. Okay, I'm not gonna do a flash ban. But that is absolutely not... I'm going to time him out. Alright, Real Life Spider, this is not the place to complain about whether like specific players on online chess sites cheat. I do not like work on that. We all are frustrated with people cheating in online chess, but not the format for this is not the forum for that. I'm not going to ban you, even though I'm in a bad mood, and Donald Trump is going to be president, and this guy was harassing me about why I asked for donations to go to a tournament, but I'll just time you out. Bangtown, California. 10 gift subs, is that what I saw? 10 gift subs? Call Kramnik. Yeah, seriously. Why don't you just like send a private message to Kramnik? Alright, Bangtown, did you just gift 10 gift subs? Wait a second here. No. He gifted 5 gift subs. He had already gifted 5, totaling 10. 1-800-BAN Kramnik. Dan Kramnik. It's a good screen name. Dan Kramnik. Anyway, all right. Asteroid, I think you should be desperate at this point. You know, F5 is not usually on his radar. Problem is check G6. I want to play F5. He's giving you an opportunity to bring your bishop to life because your bishop is dead. Just as his bishop is dead, just as white's bishop is dead against the e6 pawn, so is your bishop on b7. Whereas, white doesn't have the ability to try to pry this diagonal open. You do with f5, and you're not castled, and there's some risk involved. But clearly this can be mapped by g6. h6 is protected. This square is protected. This square is protected. And the point is we're going to chip away at e4. Yes, it's a risky move, but I think we're desperate here. You played knight f6. He plays h3. That's a weak move. Castles. Knight c3. Your play would be fine if it wasn't for the fact that you're down a clear pawn. And you're objectively losing. Now, I think the snake Benoni would be nice, but we can't just drop another pawn. So, play along the b file. a6 is a good move. Keeping him off of b5. Now, white is doing well. He's a clear pawn up. He should probably castle or possibly play a prophylactic move like bishop a2. One of the above, either castle, getting the king to a safe position, or bishop a2. Instead, white plays bishop f4, which, that's all fine and good, but it doesn't construct anything. Thank you, Bangtown, for 5 gift subs. It's the same thing as a donation. Appreciate that very much. Am I getting another message from the same guy? No. I got Doppelbanger. Doppelbanger sending in a game. All right, whoa, what is that? That's a lot of games. What is that? Team Leisure 2 Electric Boogaloo. All right, Doppelganger, you tell me what game we're doing. Bishop f4. Fight for control, Asterbait. Oh, you also just trade and play d5. Yeah, you smoke him. Smoke him. Sorry. Game number 42. Okay. I'll remember that. 420. I was going to say Asterbait should fight for control of these dark squares, but I think it's better to rip it open. What happened, Arsenal fan? You got some crappy news. Well, crappy isn't as bad as like horrible. So look at the bright side. See you later, Arsenal fan. I hope the best for you. Crappy could be worse. It sounds bad, but it could be worse. So we're gonna think positively for Arsenal fan. So Asterbait, I think you should take and then hit him in the middle with d5. Because if he takes, he's in big trouble, because you're gonna get him down the e file. So white should probably pull the bishop back, and now you've got a lot of pressure. You can crack it open and hopefully put some pressure on the c4 pawn. Something like maybe even e5. I was looking at queen d4, but it looks like it runs into rook d1. That's kind of awkward. Maybe we don't trade. You can also push. Go for space. Yeah, anyway. It's another way of playing the position. What Asterbait did isn't bad. He maintains the dark squares. And now white probably has to consider trading and playing e5. That's check. No. He has to just trade. And why doesn't he castle? He's trying to like break Arsenal fans' record. He should trade and castle. What's wrong with castling? What's wrong with this guy's castling? He plays e5 instead. Whoops. Miscalculated. Bishop takes. Oh no. That's a queen. Alright, that was a gimme. So Asterbait got a free gift sub. No, I mean a free piece. 3 pieces. Easy one. Bishop's hanging. I think that's a little bit better. You gave him a break. Not a safe king. This is easy. No contest there. A king is not going to live very long. Stalemate? No. Now, you missed mate in one. Astrobate used to be like the mate in one man, you know. That's something I would ask yourself, Astrobate. You know, you've had this history of playing, your rating's gone down, you're playing too fast. Do you remember the days when you used to like really play for mate? When we first started working with you? Perhaps there's something there, you know. You were more patient somehow. I realize you're winning no matter what, but it's kind of like a symptom of I think your issues in general. Be more precise and take your time. You should see this, but you're like hurrying. Haste makes waste. My dad's favorite saying. All right, let's go on. What did I get? What did I get? Give me money. Give me money. Give me money. Just give me money. Donate. Come to my stream and dare to say that why I'm asking for money on for a tournament. Going to the World Senior, trying to become a Grandmaster. It's not just any tournament. I have to justify myself. Become like a millionaire? If I was a millionaire, would I be asking for donations? Alright. So, that's mate. That's a cute mate. So we got Zuckertor Chapter 1. That's Uber Driver. We can do Bangtown, California first. The Uber Driver never actually shows up on these streams, so we can do his game last. I got a game here from Doppelbanger. El Grande. Copy. Open study. Board editor. Wait. Can I just copy chapter? Chapter PGN? This is the old school way of doing it. Thank you guys for your donations and subscriptions and gift subs and just hanging out with me in this horrible world we live in. I'm back. Did you do my Panav attack already? Neil Skinner, I didn't get it. When did you send me? Oh, you sent it before? A week ago? What? When did you send this? We did that last week, didn't we? Dude, that's from before. Well, we didn't have a stream last week. Oh, okay. We didn't have a stream last week. I get it. Okay. Because we didn't have a stream last week. I totally forgot. Right. New chapter. You didn't... Wow, what just happened? Okay, that is weird. What is happening? Add a new chapter. Paste. Create chapter. Why is it doing that? Whoa. Oh, cannot parse PGN. Oh, no. Mule Skinner. I didn't copy and paste it right. Cannot parse PGN? Okay. Oh, yeah, because I included that thing in the front. Veteranos. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to add it. I had a feeling I knew there was something I forgot. He's playing Antonio. No, I didn't do it already. So we'll do this first, and then we'll do double banger. Our gangland subdonor. We got Mule Skinner playing white. All right, no confusion with our Antonio, aka Morales. This is another Antonio. Now, Mule Skinner, I've played many games now against you. I played many games against you from the black side of these Panovs because since I first played with you, and you've got how many games against me? I don't know. I always felt like you were best in closed openings, where you have this formulaic kind of approach. Not that you're bad in the open games, but I feel like my best chance against you to get a win was always trying to get you into open positions. And that's why I would play the Scandinavian a lot. This case is a Caro-Kann. But remind me of something now. Did you always play like the Panov against the Caro-Kann? I mostly would play like the Scandinavian. But I guess sometimes I played the Caro-Kann. Most people play the advanced variation. Because I would think like you knowing you and knowing the fact that you're good in close positions, just an observation, I would think you would do well in advanced Caro-Kann. Because it leads to closed lines, and you're playing the French yourself. You're playing the white side of, okay, Tarash is different from the advanced variation, but still, I feel like you play quite well in closed positions, so I would gravitate toward that if I were you. Just an idea, though. You play these panos pretty well, and we have a lot of practice in it. C takes d5, c4, knight f6, knight c3. I mean, I also want to say that, like, I play the Panov a lot. I don't think it's white's best move. I think, like, fundamentally, seriously, like, fundamentally, beyond, like, what's the trendy move, the best move is either e5, knight c3, or knight d2. Pawn takes pawn is, like, probably somewhere around, like, the fantasy variation, It's fundamentally flawed because you're trading a central pawn. Think about how fundamentally flawed this move is. We're trading a 4th rank pawn for a 3rd rank pawn. That's to black's advantage. I play the move a lot myself, but I also realize its limitations. You're going to bounce out. Have a good stream. We can maybe do the analysis some other time. But we're going to do the analysis, Bangtown, whether you're here or not. And thank you for your gift subs. You can check the VOD. Who cares about centipawns when you give mate? Well, I mean, I think the best way to give mate is with e5. But, whatever. Okay. So take, c4, knight f6, knight c3, e6. And now, I'm knight f3 is normal. You play pawn takes pawn. There may be some technical inaccuracy with pawn takes pawn. I don't think it has a problem. They can take with the pawn. I mean, this is a really annoying variation, to be honest. Now you transpose to, like, a French exchange. I hated when people would do that against me, honestly. I wouldn't usually use that move order. I'm not sure why you're not playing knight f3. That's the main line. But anyway. Your opponent takes with a knight. And now this will likely transpose. The 2 knights? The worst, you think? I like the 2 knights, but it's not... the 2 knights is kind of like playing a King's Indian attack or something. That also would probably be okay for Mule Skinner. But whatever. I'm just thinking about it. So... now, black can opt for, any of the above. Knight c6, bishop b4, or bishop e7. I wonder about bishop d6. Interesting, this has only been played in a handful of games. But all by good players. I imagine it's like a c3 Sicilian. That can't be a bad move, either. The advantage of bishop d6 is the bishop is placed a bit more actively. Nothing special. Okay. Bishop b7 guards this diagonal. It's a standard move. Now you played bishop d3, and black is either castling or playing knight c6 in most cases. You have a folder on your desktop with screenshots of the ending positions of my tile variation games. Huh. Oh, really? Like in the advanced variation? That's cool. But here black plays a really weird move. I mean, h6. Bishop e7 is solid, but h6 is really asking for trouble. Weakening the king side. No real upside of this move. It's not like you're going to castle queen side, so you're definitely castling king side. Black castles king side now. He's played h6 unprovoked. Only 2 games where this has happened. Black lost both. But how do we exploit h6? Well, first of all, interestingly enough, could be a bishop takes h6 sacrifice. And secondly, there's the, kind of standard, like, get the queen to e4 and Asser mate, e4 or d3. But I think this hinge here, or what do you call it? Not hinge, but lever. The sacrifice is going to be a problem for black in a lot of variations. Give me a queen on h5, black's in a lot of trouble. Maybe knight e5. But I think you should think about this move. Because we have black playing a very suspicious move, h6. And I want to be incisive. I don't want to just play any old move. We want to specifically exploit this move. We know h6 is a mistake. So we need to use like deductive reasoning to figure out how to exploit h6. If I play knight e5, I mobilize my queen, which means I can do stuff like queen h5, directly threatening sacrifices on h6, or maybe queen g4, obviously threatening bishop takes h6. Knight e5 has some drawbacks, because it might also, just basically promote exchanges. Though I don't think that's everything here. An exchange of pieces, one set of pieces getting traded isn't the end of the world. But for example, like queen g4, knight f6, now we have a problem. But let's say, for example, knight takes c6. Yeah, knight takes g4, knight takes d8, rook takes d8. We didn't get anything there, but I want to look for ways to take advantage of h6. Knight e5 is not convincing. a3 looks, someone played a3. I mean, come on with the a3. This is too slow. I like rook e1. It's a sensible move, but there's also even bishop c2. We could threaten queen d3. You know what? Even bishop e4 is played in these types of positions sometimes. In this case, it would probably just induce him to go back. Then we'd go back, but his knight would be like more passively placed. So I think there's something to be said, even for bishop e4. But I really think like queen e2 would be my first choice. This was played by 2 grandmasters, shockingly. You also sometimes can put the rook on d1, which can eliminate any problems with losing the pawn on d4. It's a universal IQP position. I like queen e2. Is rook e1 okay? For me, it's okay. You know, you might even do a rook lift. But it's like, you know, this, what are you going to do? Are you going to lift rook h4? Rook e4? I think the queen is better. Feels a little too routine to me. This looks like a game I went over with Acerbate earlier today. Some players have a sort of obsession with doing this Basman like pawn moves. What do you think you can get away with? What does he think he can get away with here? Now, oh no. Mule Skinner exchange knights on d5. Am I gonna... That's a knight, though. It's not a bishop. I'm not gonna have to, like, fall out of my chair again. I don't like knight takes d5. You need a good reason to play knight takes d5. You're gonna need a really good reason to play that move, to convince me to play that move. You know, one thing that's annoying about h6 is that we have no place, really no good place to put our dark square bishop. You know, Lanka Ravi's like a3. It's not so bad, actually. Because in those types of positions, you know, we're looking at like bishop c2, controlling the square, and then queen d3, and here is quite useful. a3 is a standard move, although it feels slow. But you're going to need to show me why you play this move. I need to see a reason why knight takes d5. What do we have after pawn takes? Black can't defend h7 so easily. That's true. And I agree that you're still better after knight takes d5. It's a Petrov type of structure. But at the same time, I think you're better without knight takes d5. I mean, your point is like if bishop c2, you know, knight f6, it can go back and it can guard h7. But I still think you can get a, you know, you're up so much time here in this position. You have a very strong attack. I mean, let's say like queen d3, knight c6, a3. Here's a game. Kishlinsky, Golubka. Your attack is very strong. You can decoy that knight, you know, in some other way. This looks like he's going to transpose to a c3 Sicilian where black played like h6 when he's supposed to be playing g6 or something. I don't like black's position at all. It's tough to play these positions, but h6 and a6 is like, forget it. I think you're making a minor concession here. So queen takes is possible. What is your plan against queen takes? Obviously you can play bishop e4. I'm not sure if it does anything. Pawn takes is safer, and black has ideas of bishop g4. Oh no. I'm getting disconnected. Hello? Hello? We still here? Okay. Oh no, I'm reconnecting? What? Yeah. Alright, I don't know. For some reason, lichess was showing me reconnecting. So you got the standard plan. And you can meet the Petrov. That's crushing. But I have bad news for you. You know, logically, what does black have now? See the problem. You're still better no matter what. But I have a question. What do you do after knight d7? He's just going to do the same thing again. With, you know, knight f6. And now he's got this. I know you're still better, but I don't think it's winning. You're just better. I think at the end of the day, like, you chose to simplify the position to a more clear position where you're like a little better. But I think holistically here, it's better to keep the tension. Either way, you're better. Right, right. This bishop can come out. Now, it can't come out because of tactics after bishop c2. But it looks like he has to find knight d7. The problem is, I don't think you have a great answer to knight d7. Maybe you have something I'm not seeing here. Queen d3, knight f6, and now what? Bishop f4? You're better. It's a Petrov. Or some kind of... But it's hard to make progress. I feel like you gave a little bit of your advantage back. No, a real strong technical player may still win this with white. Alright, he plays this, though, with apparently no awareness of the problem. And now it's a bad Petrov. After queen d3, f5 forced. Yeah, we got a very typical Petrov situation where f5's been induced. And that means his bishop is stuck in behind that pawn and that pawn. I've been here. I've been here in lines of the Petrov where you have to play f5 and you don't want to do that because you just got like holes everywhere. E5 is bad. This is bad. Now at this point, white is clearly better. He can still maybe defend, but he's going to have to be very, very careful. A3, necessary, protect b4. Now you're definitely better. Is there any way to allow knight b4? You probably can't afford it. But you might have a better move here. Well, okay, bishop b3 unfortunately might lead to knight a5 and not really make progress. The only problem with this is he stops you from playing bishop f4. I really wanted to play bishop f4. Maybe it doesn't matter though. Your position is too good. You play g3 now. Dude, are you seriously going to play like bishop f4 or what? Wow, you did that. That's crazy. Wow. Mule Skinner with the psycho Stonewall. Nice idea. Okay. It's almost like a little bit like a Tarish. You got the Tarish French thing going on here, don't you? This is really abstract and kind of interesting. I mean, black could play the horrible g5. I don't know that that's going to last long. Okay, he's going to have to just suck it up and live with bishop f4. And it's interesting. But you also could have played this. Sorry. You don't have to play g3. You could have gone here. Black has ways to defend the pawn. I think you're better, in various ways. This was an inventive way of playing the position. Now after queen f6, he's still not threatening f4. He's likely not threatening g5 because h4 is so strong, so you could kind of do anything. It's a little like Arsenal fans sacking the exchange. The point is, like, your position may be better than you think. And this is an extreme way of playing it. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if there was a downside to this. My point would be, like, you can play bishop d2 and you're clearly better. Though it might not appear that you are. Let's just, for argument's sake, say you cut out knight a5. He plays bishop d7. What about his pawn on d5? Like, I don't know, bishop e3. What is he going to do? How does he protect that pawn? There really is no good way to protect the pawn. Then again, on the other hand, like, you could do that right away, actually. If you go here, how does he protect his pawn? I was going to suggest bishop c7. You know, the problem is there are a lot of problems. Although this might be a source of counterplay for black. You could go knight e5, and if he takes, now this pawn is even worse. But again, maybe black's just hanging on. He might just be hanging on. So it's a cool idea. G3, bishop f4. The dude, I mean, he has to take this. I feel like he has to take this, but it's bad no matter what, because you're going to land on e5. Although, all right, let's just play a move. Bishop B, where do we go? Bishop D to e6. If you play knight e5, he's going to take it, and you're better. Yeah, it's a nice idea. Wow. He can't equalize. I've never seen it done in exactly this kind of position, but it's a stonewall. Definitely a stonewall idea. I mean, this doesn't save him. You're just owning the position here. And now all recaptures are good, probably. Yeah, this is a nice game. And you have knight d4. But this is best first. Force him to play bishop e6. Wow, he didn't. So courageous move by your opponent. He plays f4. Bishop takes. d5. What's he going to play? And do you have an exchange sack now? I'm hallucinating. I was hallucinating. So f4, wow. You're winning, but the best method here, he's blockading after bishop e6. This is not so easy. I think you should just play rook d1. You shouldn't take. Oh, you have to, because of this. Damn. That's unfortunate. I really don't want to take and, you know, mobilize his pieces for him. Maybe you should give some serious thought to something like this. My first idea was rook d1, but it doesn't work, does it? Now, let's take a look for a second, okay? Pawn takes pawn. H takes, I guess. Bishop takes d5. Queen takes d5. Queen takes d5, rook takes d5, rook takes f3, and now e6. He has knight c6, and on e7 it's a draw. You're losing after rook e8 actually. Okay, so you can't try to sacrifice the knight on f3, but I almost wonder if you shouldn't take the pawn. You know what? You gave him some counterplay with this pawn capture. Should we consider taking in a different way? Maybe you rush with bishop e3. Maybe bishop e3 is your problem. After takes, here, you know, you have the mate there on h7. I think this is the mistake. He can't play f4 because he's mated. So you should make another move here. Not bishop e3, but like say rook d1 first. So what does he do after rook d1 first? Now, he can't play f4. He can play knight e6 or bishop e6. Bishop e6. Still not threatening anything. And you could do, well, everything, really. Knight d4 looks very strong. So I guess this was a little bit of an inaccuracy. Well, let's say you do rook d1 and he plays knight e6. Still not threatening anything. He might be preventing bishop e3 though with the threat of knight c5. But still, he has no threats. You can play b4 first, and then you're threatening to play this. So his best defense is what, like bishop d7. You could just go here now, and his best is something like this. Still, it's not easy to put him away. I'm curious. Let's look what the engine says. First of all, the recapture on e5. The computer likes pawn takes, and it likes rook d1. Okay, so this is a mistake. We were right. You know, this is the best move. But after this, I don't get it. Why doesn't it blockade on e6? If bishop e6, knight d4, plus 2.5. If knight e6, you just take the pawn. Well, I was concerned about f4, but I guess there's nothing special there. You could play a number of good moves here. Yeah, so knight e6 isn't ideal either. All right. Anyway, clearly bishop e3 was a slight mistake, and now this is not there anymore, and now the f4 is counterplay. So now you got to be careful. Bishop takes d5, bishop e6. Yeah, it's a little tricky now. Bishop e6, this helps his pieces develop. I feel like at this point, black has like pretty reasonable, like some defensive chances. Essentially. Maybe objectively you're winning, but you have to be very careful. And where to go? I don't know. You wanted to keep his queen off of g6, presumably. You have queen e4. It allows knight c5. Okay, so this move is reasonable. He has knight d4. He does it. Takes. I don't know about knight d4, though. Such a good blockader on e6. But objectively, black is much, much worse. Alright, guys. How are we doing on time? Remember, do not donate to my stream. Why would you donate? Why would you donate to a player trying to go to the World Championship? Why would you do that? Don't do something like that, Asterbait. Take it personally. Don't fuck with me the day after Trump becomes president. I'm in a relatively stable mood. Knight d4, rook takes d4, rook d1. g4 is unprotected. This looks like black has to be very worried about e6. The e6 pawn is a killer. If he trades rooks, you take with the queen. I mean, I guess I'm trying to do the impossible here. It looks like objectively your position is winning, even just one pawn up. That's maybe two pawns. It looks like you can take on b7. And f3 isn't anything. Or is it? No, it's something. Well, If f3, h3. There's really only one thing that could go wrong here, which is like black doing a double sacrifice on g4 and checkmating you. So it's possible to take the pawn on b7. I agree, it's really not necessary though. So you could go to f3. No, that's going to drop a pawn. Let's see what he does. He pushes. Clearly not a bad move. f3. I expected h3, but this is fine too. Or is it? Shit. Can he try to hold this rook ending? Maybe you're better off playing h3. Is this a problem? If he sacks, you can just ignore it. e7. Ooh. Yeah. e7. Rook takes g4 check. King h1. And now queen takes f2, e8 queen, king h7. I have a bad feeling about this. So, yeah, I think overall I would try to go for this. I'm a little bit worried about the rook ending because he could possibly get over there. He doesn't have to play rook e8 right away. This f3 pawn's gonna kill him, isn't it? Yeah. No. Maybe you should push the pawn. Don't give him any second chances. I think technically now he can, he can play king e7 and try to swindle you. This is a huge mistake. If you play e7, it's game over. He has no chance of survival. King f3 is a major inaccuracy. Now black has swindling potential. Ooh, this is really messy now. So he's losing the king and pawning game, I see. You still got it. You got it under control? I'm not sure. Check here. Rook f6. My god. This looks like some kind of endgame I would get in a serious tournament. Horrible. Oof. Turning into Rubinstein on him. It's winning now. Wow. What? This must be panic mode. Panic mode is setting in. You should play rook takes h6. Actually, also h5. h5 is very strong. Isn't g5 like the worst move? Oh, I get it. You take back with the h-pawn. I don't know, though. g5, take king f5. I think this is the worst move. You could play anything. h5 is killing. Rook takes h6 is winning. Albeit slowly after king g7, g5. Probably the simplest is h5. Because then after pawn takes pawn, you take with check and you take on h5 with two connectors. This is definitely a mistake. Oh, I see. I'm not even sure you're winning anymore. This might be a draw. Wow. Black played b5. What the? b5? Are you sure the board's going the right direction? b5, that's insane. Why doesn't he just take? I mean, he's got to take. It's a draw. Wow. Yeah, so h5. h5's totally winning. This is a huge mistake. Looks like you're still winning. You have to take with the h-pawn. But I wasn't sure about this. Because of king f5, rook f7 check, king g4, rook f6 check. I mean, you're winning, but it's like, yeah, tricky. h5 was very easy winning. That was a major time pressure blunder. But it looks like after this it really is a draw. b5. Well, you played b5. Okay. I'm just having hallucinations. Sorry. I was like, he played b5. It's your move. I thought it was his move. After king f5, you played b5. Alright, I'm losing my mind. It's a draw. I think it's a draw. So what if you check him? Nope. I mean, there's still a chance. Now you're probably winning. Okay. So takes. King f5, b5, best move. But he has like check and rook e5 now. What about check? Can he go here? King f3. Rook e5 doesn't work. He has to play very carefully to draw. This is not so easy. But it never should have been this close. So it looks like king g4 is a mistake. And now your king gets out of control. Yeah, he has a he has a narrow path to draw the game. But it all... Is king g4 enough, though, to lose? Apparently it is. This is critical. Now you're winning. Your king's too good. You're gonna march in and get one of these pawns. Not surprising to see like probably a young player booting this endgame. b5 was forced. I imagine Neil Skinner's in time pressure. Why wouldn't he play like king c6 here? You kind of lost the tempo there. Wow. This is a draw. Unbelievable. That's crazy. Okay, you don't have to rush to take the pawn though. It's true. You could have played like rook h6. There's no hurry as long as your b5 is protected. Apparently he's drawing after a4. a3. King takes h4. Oh my god. What happened? Oh no. He sacked his rook. Holy shit. He sacked his rook here. Because he's afraid. King f4 is a draw. Very hard to find that move. Rook c2 loses to rook c5. King f4 is a draw. He was afraid of rook b5. But you have check and you're threatening to go back. That's the problem. He can still sack his rook. So if king d6, rook c8, and you've got him boxed out, I mean he's got you boxed out, and he can still queen his own pawn. It's very hard to see this all, obviously. And I guess you're winning by a tempo. Now, you can cut him off. No, that's not going to work. You have to bring the king up. This is good enough. Now you get across. That was way too close. Exciting game. What's up, Nedog? Alright, Yul Skinner. You're not the first person to mess up a good position and let the opponent reach a drawn ending. That was interesting game. I really did like the bishop f4 strategic plan. I think, again, it's reminiscent of your experience in the French Tarrasch. But for me, it's more like a Stonewall Dutch, since I'm a d4, more of a d4 player. Okay, we know that, what time is it? It's 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock here. Good game, White. Good game, Yule. So we got Banger versus Cake. So Doppelbanger donated 5 gift subs, and we're going to go over his game. He had to leave. He's a Smith-Morra Gambit fan. We can't all be perfect. C takes d4, c3, and now Gambit should be accepted. So pawn takes pawn is definitely the best move. We all know that. Black instead transposes the c3 Sicilian. This is interesting because, you know, it takes the Gambit out of the game. And I think for a lot of players, maybe they're not as well prepared in this c3 Sicilian that arises here. So there's practical value in declining the Gambit, and this is probably the best way to decline it. The other move, which I'm not really well versed on, well, there's actually a couple. I mean, can't Black play like e5? No, this is strange. This is strangely playable for Black, although it's never been popular. It's kind of counterintuitive, but another reasonable way of declining. And then there's the d5. So basically you have 3 ways of declining the Smith-Morra Gambit. It's up to you. But I think you should accept it. But again, there's practical value. On the other hand, I mean, there's a lot of theory in the c3. You know, this is a very, very theoretical opening. Tons and tons of games. e5, knight d5, and now knight f3. This is the main move. There's also bishop c4. Queen takes d4 is rare. Main line. Okay. Now, Black can play either knight c6 or e6. And I played both. d6, sorry. There's 3 moves. 3 main moves. d6, e6, or knight c6. All of them are playable. This is recommended in a lot of sources as a solid option for Black. And now, I would think pawn takes pawn would be the main option. I've also faced queen takes d4. I had a couple of games here with that, I guess. But this is definitely the main line. But instead, Doppelbanger played bishop c4. Oh, so I missed it. What did you miss? A visitor backhandedly tried to shame me. Ah, I can't see people asking for money. Why would a chess master employ the benefactors to send him to tournaments? He doesn't know what benefactor is. It's okay. This is a backhanded way of transposing to a different variation. I still would argue that I would go with the main line. But okay, bishop c4. Now, we've already fallen out of the chair once today. So, do you want to fall out of our chair again? Bishop takes d5. When that happens, I have to fall out of my chair. You know, the big question really is, what would happen if black just asked the obvious question, pawn takes pawn. So it looks like this is rarely played. Oh my god. Ah, I'm falling out of the chair again. I'm going to be falling out of my chair again. But you would have an in-between move there. I have never analyzed this in my life. Bishop takes d5. And if c takes b2, bishop takes b2. And now black has a host of moves. What's our evaluation? It's very close. Though I would argue that it would be harder to play black, because black is behind in development here. So I don't really recommend it. I just wanted to ask the question. Knight b6 is probably the main move, but I've actually played this. d6. d6 is... Once I had a game at the chess club in Washington, no, I was in Baltimore. They have a chess club, they used to have a chess club in Baltimore. This was back around like 2006. I had a tournament game against some guy who, I think he ran the chess club there. He did like bishop takes d5, another fall out of the chair. He did this like unprovoked. It was weird. That's not really white's normal plan. You're supposed to just like take on d4. Giving up the late square bishop on d5, there needs to be a really good reason for that. So, b6. Now you took on d5. But I kind of can accept this move here. Whereas in most cases, it's always bad. But I mean, look at black's position. It's kind of in tatters. White should absolutely castle. I really... I don't like queen a and bishop a6 happening. I don't think we have to be materialistic here. You're playing the Smith-Morgan Gambit. Why don't you just castle? It looks like everything is good for white. You know? White has to be better here. And b6 is just terrible, by the way. Knight b6 is okay. d6 is okay. And d takes c3 is really, really dangerous, but playable. But this move is sort of stupid, you know? Is that the right position? Yeah. So it was played in Blomqvist versus Fedorov. But, yeah, I like bishop takes d5 here. In this case. Okay, clearly it's not white's only path. You can play another move. Whatever you like. You know, c takes d4. It transposes back into something normal. Blomqvist played queen takes d4, which is... It's okay. And castles is okay, I would think. So it's a matter of taste. This is viable here. Now black plays pawn takes pawn, and you're saying you suggested queen takes d4. There's a red arrow, and I agree with that. That bishop does nothing on b7. But I am more concerned about this. So if queen takes d5, knight c6. If you try to attack this with, say, like knight g5, maybe black can defend. I guess it's looking a little grim. This is hanging with check. This is not so bad. Turns out Yeah, your point about bishop b7 is valid, but he shouldn't do bishop b7. Black has to sacrifice his pawn back on d5. So queen takes d4 is interesting. But I also don't think it's necessary. I think it's simpler to just castle, like Alina Sedina did, and you're just better. Don't overvalue material. After all, you're playing the Mora Gambit. But at this point now, when black... okay, you didn't castle now. C takes d. Black has issues here. But after bishop a6... how are we getting our king out of the center? The only way to get the king out of the center appears to be knight c3, knight e2. Otherwise, you're leaving the king in the center, and that's a possibility. That's kind of an insane possibility. But say bishop a6. My God, there's games here. Wow, this is a position. This is a position by some freaky other move order. Wow. What's this? So if knight c3, black has bishop b4. Very interesting. That's the idea. So he plays it, bishop a6. Okay, so he transposes something real. But I'm telling you that this shouldn't have happened. You know, you can just castle and you're better. Because the point is, this sucks, and this sucks too. Because now rook e1. It seems like either way black's position sucks if you castle. But now it doesn't suck because he has this one line and everything's playable. So now bishop e4. Right. Somehow we've transposed to some actual variation by a slightly offbeat move order. Now I don't know what to do. You can play bishop d2 with the idea of knight e2. This is what I would expect. Instead here, that's a new move. But the queen is out of play to some degree on a4. Another thing I should mention, though, you know, that this, of course, threatens d5, so black has to take. Now, how do you get your king out of the center? Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you could put it on f2. Maybe you can put it on d2. All bets are off. I guess the position is dynamically balanced. Sarge has a game here with black, who's a very strong player. So, alright, you played, and queen b3 is played instead. I was wondering about this as a Nimzo Indian player. If queen takes d5, knight c6. But I guess bishop g5 could be an issue. It's not. Wow. Queen e7 is a novelty. But apparently it's not the best move. Better to just play knight c6. And then if queen takes d5, you just sack the pawn. Alright. So the conclusion is that bishop d2 is the best move for white. You take your chances here. This is the best. And you're not worse. But queen a4 only threatens queen takes b4 and has a point. So there's a point here. It prevents knight c6. Okay, let's give him more credit. Queen a4 puts the queen on a bad square where it's out of play, but it does threaten... it does prevent black from playing knight c6. So we have some questions to answer. What about this? That drops a piece. What about queen e7? That's the game. So this is a new position. That's right. And now bishop d2. Now black castled, which is fine. It's all fine and good. Somebody loses an eye. Jesus, man. Oh no. There's knight takes d5 now. So if you play bishop takes, castles, black has to worry about bishop b4. So your point is knight c6 and then castles. We're back to a plate. No, you can't. What is the point then? Black's going to have to get creative now on the opposite color bishop position. Alright, this is not so clear. You know, I can move here. And I've got this, and I've got this, and it's opposite color bishops. It's very murky. So, you know, Queen e4 turned out to be kind of posing some interesting new ideas. But after Queen e7, Bishop d2, I am very much not sure if this is enough. I think the white king is kind of funky on d2. Has some funky appeal. Fish don't care if this king flaps in the breeze. That's what I'm saying too. This is what you should do. No, I mean, I was thinking about this like 10 moves ago. Where can you put your king if you can't castle? Well, d2 is as good as anywhere. Because it's like all the dark squares are covered all over the place. How exactly is he attacking your king? Because I don't see it. I agree 100%. Like, this is the refutation. This is totally the refutation of a black's position. Yeah. Who's hanging in the breeze here? Black is hanging in the breeze. Black is, like, lost, it looks like. See, the problem is after this, your king isn't any closer to safety. And maybe this is good, too. I mean, you can play f3, but, for example, queen h4 is possible now. Queen g5 is possible now. I think that's the point. This keeps your enemy queen away. All the squares are taken. So after king takes, he has to go where? You know, back to d8. But you're so active here. Rook c1, threatening knight c7. I don't think that black's going to make it. I mean, maybe bishop e7, knight c7, bishop takes f3, pawn takes f3, queen g5 check, king e2, you're still safe. The king is still relatively safe now on e2. So, anyway, knight takes e2, queen g5, now black has some counter chances. Defending g2. So, you might be able to castle queenside. Not out of the realm of possibility. Black plays queen g6. Eyeing this diagonal. But what about making sure d3 doesn't go? Maybe queen a3. That's good. I like queen a3. You got a nice dark square control here. You're keeping an eye on the bishop on a6. You're preventing the queen from coming into d3. This is very good. b5 looks desperation. Damn, dude, I would instantly sack the exchange. You can totally do this now. I mean, this is winning. Queen takes b4, bishop takes f1. I mean, okay, maybe it's not winning, but I mean, white is definitely better here. I exaggerated. It's plus 0.7. Alright. Yeah. It's not best. You'd be giving him a chance. Okay. So b5. You played... actually, that defends the bishop laterally. Yeah, b4 is okay. It's okay. Does the job, back, castles, and now you're up a pawn. You got to give the guy credit, though, for staying alive here. He's only down one pawn. And objectively, I think white is winning. The space is really big. You have a possible f4, f5. Your queen is not that bad, actually. Can get in the game on the third rank. But here, I'm not sure about knight b3. It looks a little... I'm not sure I like knight b3. I don't really like defending with the queen. Maybe queen b2. This looks passive, but good. Yeah, you don't want to be putting knight on f3. Not ideal. Alright, here. The a5, why? Why not here? This has got to be better. You know, you're in the center, and you're blocking his play on the c file. I mean, with knight a5, you shut down a5. I'm not sure he can even do that anyway. I would definitely choose this. This knight is much more relevant. I mean, you have d3, e4, d7. I don't like this choice. But I guess, you know, you're thinking, well, he doesn't have anywhere to put his bishop. Well, maybe he has to swap it for the knight. Maybe this isn't so stupid. Maybe this isn't so stupid. I mean, for that matter, even bishop c6 may not be that bad. When he plays bishop e4, he's begging for f3. And I think it might be a constructive move for white. So, what do you guys want to guess what the engine suggested here? Bishop f3. Oh yeah, thank you. The computer saw this move. That's a nice move. That's the best move. But now he goes king h1. So what did we achieve? We can put our bishop on e2 now. This sucks anyway. What does this do? Now what do we do? Well, anyway, all right, let's go back and see what the computer says. Let's see what it prefers. Bishop f3, king h1, bishop d5. I'm telling you, he's not lost. But this is helping white. I expected bishop d5. You lose a pawn. Oh no. Oh no. We didn't really want to lose that pawn. Now material's equal and your knight is on a5. But the knight on a5 is disaster. It's out of play. And this never would have happened with the knight on c5. So that was clearly probably your worst move. This looks loose. Those pawns are pretty loose, particularly the e5 pawn. At this point, I think things went kind of astray. But I'm really not liking that knight on a5. It's out of the game entirely. The c5 would have been great. Okay, I'm not getting this either. But I guess he just needs a place to put the bishop where it's safe. And now, you gotta move. You gotta square for your knight. That's brilliant. Of course, you could also go to b3. The sort of routine move. But this is much more fancy. Doesn't really do anything. He's trading pieces. And now you trade. Oh no. There's knight f3 check. So if knight takes e4, knight f3 check. Does that even work? Knight takes e4, knight f3 check, king h1, knight takes d2, knight takes d2, and white is better. I'm not sure. d6. You feel overextended. But black doesn't have really any concrete threats. Rook e8 is a really nice move. There's this talking about rook e8 here in the analysis. He could pile up here. Queen d3, and now queen takes e5. Black gets back, a pawn up with the advantage. And now you drop the piece with queen takes a1 check. You know, but going back right here, I think bishop e4, f3, bishop d3. I don't know what black is threatening. You know, this is really a major mistake. If you play rook f2 or even rook e1, not sure rook f2 necessarily. This is also viable. I was honestly surprised that black put his bishop on d3 because I thought black would probably put the bishop on d5. You take the bishop, he's got a very strong knight. I wasn't expecting bishop d3. So I don't know. Let's see what the computer thinks. Rook e1, actually. It's close. Then it finally goes to f2, the line that you put in there. So how bad is bishop d3? It's very bad, yeah. I've seen this a lot lately. Asterbait was doing this lately in his games. He overvalues bishops. This is enabling the black knight. You give up the bishop, but you enable your knight to be very strong on d5. For me, the single most important move in this game was white's choice to go to a5. Why choose a5 over the centralizing c5? Let's see what the computer says. It advocates knight c5. It doesn't think it's like the critical moment in the game. But it set you up for a fail, you know? This to me is like clear cut. Only white can be better now. You ended up with your knight out of play and you lost the game. Your rook is out of play on a1, never moved. You hung a rook on a1 that never moved. Coincidence? Alright guys, that was cool. Anyway, that's it. We're all done. What time is it now? It's 9:30. Alright, time to go. Anyway guys, interesting games. Any other donations? Feel free to make a donation while I'm not live. But I'm going to one last time beg for donations. We have Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. 5 more streams before I go to the World Senior. We need to raise $344. That's an average of like $65, $70 a stream. So we'll see you guys. See you guys on Friday for some Blitz tomorrow, and then Sunday, the big one, our last simul, our big stream of the week, our last simul before the World Senior. That's it, guys. Good games. Thanks for sending in the games. I appreciate it. Nedog? Knights and whites. Yeah. All right. You're a nerd, man. Thank you, guys. CET. It is CET now. Thank you, Asterbait, for pointing that out, that we're Central European time, no longer summer. All right, guys. Enjoy your president. Later.